How often have we heard it said that history repeats itself, and that the only thing we seem to learn from history is that we learn nothing from history? So far as parenting is concerned, Dr. Latham reminds us now that what goes around comes around, and that there are important parenting lessons to be learned from the repeating of history in a family setting.
We are living in a wonderful time. People have never been healthier than they are today. At the turn of the century, the life expectancy of Americans was 49 years. Today it is 79 years. People have never been better educated than they are today, nor had more or better opportunities to enjoy the good life. Indeed, it is a wonderful time. As with all times, though, there is a dark side to our time. One of those ominous shadows fell before me after a presentation I made to a group of high school students. During my presentation, I emphasized our need to surround ourselves with safe people, those people who are safe from ugliness, ugly language, ugly behavior, ugly motives and intentions. I discussed early signs of ugliness which forewarn us of dangers ahead, one of which was boys who are even mildly, verbally or physically abusive toward girls. After the presentation, 3 girls remained behind to visit. Particularly, they wanted to talk to me about boys who hit. I nearly fell to the floor in a heap when one girl, speaking for the 3, said, "We assume that being hit by boys, especially on dates, was just part of the game. We all come from homes where our fathers sometimes hit our mothers, and we have no reason but to think that that's just the way it is, even during the dating years. We have always thought that once we got married, we would occasionally get hit by our husbands." We discussed this matter frankly for a few minutes, and when they left, they said, "This is news to us." Can you imagine that? Because of the models set by their fathers, these 3 girls had come to assume that being the victims of abusive boyfriends and husbands was to be expected as a natural part of a woman's life. Husbands and fathers, mind your manners. Your model is a seed planter from which flowers or weeds will spring forth for generations to come. Approximately 60% of abused children will become abusive parents. Fathers, do you want to see your grandchildren abused? Remember this: do and say to your children only what you want done and said to your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren. Just the other day, I got a letter from a mother, and I'm going to read it to you now. I am quoting, "I know I have been dealing with my children just the way my father dealt with me. Angrily, verbally, berating, criticizing, and the list goes on. And I've hated myself for it, just like I hated my father for it. I haven't spoken to him or seen him for 12 years since the day I got married. And you know what? I've been turning into him. I can't let that happen. I believe so much that how we parent is learned from how we ourselves were parented. And as I listen to the tone of voices of my children, I know I need to be a different parent now so my grandchildren don't hear ugly voices. It doesn't have to be that way. Our children, as adults, will reflect our parenting behaviors for both good and for bad. Here is another excerpt from a letter that I received just 2 days ago. Our 2 children, 13 and 10 years old, opened a babysitting service for the summer. It gives them something constructive to do, and they make some spending money. It is set up a lot like preschool. The kids come to our home and participate in activities that our children plan. The first day, they were telling me about one of the experiences that they had had with a whining and demanding child. I said, "What did you do?" They said, "We ignored her and praised the other kids that were doing things right." Then my kids said, "Mom, it really works." She started right in and helped clean up. Then the mother continues, "It makes me happy that my own children have picked up on these positive principles. I am so pleased to see them treat children in a positive way. Good practices as well as bad ones are passed from generation to generation." Parents, remember this: what goes around comes around. Be good to your children now. They will choose your nursing home.